Cloud computing. Now, cloud computing. First, what is cloud computing now? What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is an on-demand delivery of IT capabilities, where IT infrastructure and applications are provided to subscribers as a metered service over a network. So it's basically what it is: the IT capabilities. It is IT infrastructure applications, which is provided by the hosting companies as a subscription base. So if you want to access, then you have to subscribe the services, and then with the metered services, like it is a metered services, that means you will get how much you pay, and then you can use, and it is on demand services. Now, characteristic of the cloud computing is like on demand self services. It provides distributed storage. It provides the rapid elasticity. It provides the automated management, broad network access, resources pooling, measure services, virtualization technology. Now, types of cloud computing services we have. We have the three type of cloud services, computing services we have. First, IaaS, that is infrastructure as a service. Now, infrastructure as a service provides the virtual machine and other abstracted hardware and operating system which may be controlled through the service API. Now, in this IaaS, infrastructure as a service, it actually provides the abstracted hardware and even sometime operating system. Like it will provide you the virtual machine, virtual hardware, where we can install the operating system we like, and then we can install applications what we like, and we can use these services. Now, the hardware part is managed by the provider, and the part of the operating system or software part, it will be managed by the user, or we can say the subscriber. Example of these IaaS services are like this Amazon EC2, GoGrid, we have SunGrid, we have Windows SkyDrive, etc. Then we have platform as a service. Now, in platform as a service, it offers the development tools, configuration management, and deployment platforms on demand that can be used by the subscriber to develop custom applications. Now, in this PaaS, platform as a service, here what the service provider do, it actually provide not only the hardware, it also provide the platform. That means the software app operating system also, layer of operating system, where the user, the subscriber can use that platform to develop some tools or develop application, to do the configuration management, to do deployment formats also. Examples of this is Intel MashMaker, Google App Engine, we have Force.com, Microsoft Azure. These are the example of the. Then we have software as a service. Now, software as a service, it offers a software to subscriber on demand over the internet. Now, directly it is providing the software. Now, in this, what happens? The hardware part, the platform part will be managed by the service provider, and also they install the application. Also, they provide the software and the subscription for the software. Like they have a software installed on the platform, which is on the virtual machine, and then they providing the software directly on a subscriber based on demand service on internet. Like for example, we say web based office applications like Google Documents or Calendar, Salesforce CRM, etc. And like we have Google Photos, Google Document, Google Excel. So we have lots of different, Googles are providing lots of information, these services. Then we can use those software. We don't have to use the subscriber don't have to do anything, don't have to configure, don't have to. They can just use those services. So we have these three type of cloud computing services. In easy way, we can say IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Now, These services, these types basically define the separate responsibilities. It defines a separate responsibility to the cloud. Uh, Cloud, that means the vendor, the service provider, and the subscriber. So where they have divided the architecture, it is like a responsibility divided. So in IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Now it will be same. The architecture will be same. Now resource owner will get the all information. So basically the resources are like this: networking, storage, and server. Now this is the hardware part. On that hardware part we have virtualization, hypervisor. So hypervisor till here, it is what all the virtualized environment. Now this is the virtualized environment, and hypervisor, in that hypervisor we create the virtual machines. So we have virtualization. So basically on server, on physical server, storage and networking is the hardware part, and the physical server is the physical server, and on that we create the virtualization like virtual machines. Then after virtualization, that means after creating the virtual machines, what we do, we install the operating system into it. After installing the operating system, what we have the middleware softwares like the drivers and runtimes and data, which is stored into the virtual machine itself, operating system. And then we install the applications also, different applications for using on those particular operating system. Now in these three type of services like IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS, it is what a boundary, the boundary of the responsibility we have. Now for example, in the IaaS services, in the IaaS, like infrastructure as a service, what the service provider will do, it can handle till the virtualization layer. That means it can handle the all hardware part, server part, and the virtualization part. So whatever happened in the background, these are things the responsibility of the service provider. Then it will give directly the vendor, it will give the subscriber directly a virtual machine where the subscriber has to install the operating system. So subscriber will install the operating system whatever it wants, and then after that it can install application and manage applications. Now management of the operating system and any application it install, it is the responsibility of the subscriber. And the service provider's responsibility is to manage the virtual machine, hardware of provide the hardware resources to the virtual machine, and manage the virtual machine and make sure the virtual machine is always available to the subscriber. Now the second service is what the PaaS, that means a platform as a service. In this what the service provider has to manage till the runtime layer. That means it will manage the hardware part, then it will create the virtual machine, the operating system will also be installed and managed by the service provider, and all the other middleware and runtime environment, it will be also managed by the service provider. Now subscriber has to manage the data and the application and the data related to that application. So they will get the platform where they can create, they can install their applications, and they can manage their data for the application. So they have to manage the application itself, but it is not managed by the service provider. Service provider will manage everything except the data and the application for the data. Application and the application for the data. In the software as a service, basically subscriber don't have to manage anything. Everything will be managed by the service provider, and they will get a complete software where they can just use the software, and based on the usage they will give the subscriber will give the money and they will pay. Like for the Google, we have different services for the Google. We have Google Photos, Google Document, and we'll get the fixed amount of storage. From all the accounts we get a 15 or 17 GB free space. Then after that we have to pay. So there are lots of other services are like. So those are what platform as a the software as a service. So any of the other Google software we use, so actually we are using what the software as a service. Cloud deployment models. Now cloud deployment models selection is based on the enterprise requirement. Now how we want to deploy the cloud, so it depends on the enterprise requirement, what the enterprise required. First we have the different type of cloud deployments, like we have private module, community module, hybrid module and public module. In private cloud model, in this cloud infrastructure operated solely for a single organization. This is, we can say it is a private cloud. Private cloud, that means it is created, managed and used by a single organization for their own self. So they create virtual machines, they install virtual applications, create clouds, and for that they just want to use it only for their single organization. So we call it as a private cloud. In the other hand, we have community cloud also. Now community cloud is actually shared infrastructure between several organizations from a specific community with common concern like security, compliance and jurisdictions. So community cloud basically is what? It is simple, it is created for the sharing basis for the different organizations. So different organizations use that shared cloud for the different regions and common concern, like different region for the common concern, like for security or compliance and everything. Then we have hybrid cloud model, where composition of two or more clouds, that means private, community or public, that remain unique entities but are bound together, offering the benefits of multiple deployment models. So basically we have these three cloud models: private, community and public, and when we combine two or three, then it becomes hybrid. Very simple. Now public means what? Services are rendered over a network that is open for public use. Now this means what? It is a publicly available cloud which is rendered on the network that is open for public use. Now we have NIST cloud computing reference architecture. Now in this NIST cloud computing reference architecture defines 5 major factors. Now first, what is NIST? NIST is actually National Institute of Standards and Technology. So they have defined a reference for the architecture. It is National Institute of Standard and Technology, NIST. So they have defined computing reference architecture that defines the 5 major factors. First, we have these cloud consumer, then cloud provider, cloud carrier, cloud auditor and cloud broker. So what we have here, first, cloud consumer. This is a person or organization that uses cloud computing services. Then cloud provider is a person or organization providing the services to interested parties. Then the carrier. Now carrier in an intermediary for providing connectivity and transport services between cloud consumer and the service provider. Then cloud auditor is a party for making independent assessment of cloud services control and taking an opinion thereon. And the cloud broker, it is an entity to manage cloud services in terms of use, performance and delivery, who also maintains relationship between cloud provider and consumer. And in an image you can see this cloud reference architecture reference overview. You can see here in the consumer side we have the cloud in the cloud consumer we have cloud auditor here, security auditor, privacy including performance and auditor here. In the cloud provider we have service layer, where the different cloud services we have IaaS, PaaS or SaaS. Then resource abstraction and control layer, where physical resources are there, which hardware and facility. Over there we use the services of cloud. Then cloud service management, business support, provisioning, configuration, portability, interoperability. Then the security and privacy part comes, and the cloud broker, which do the service intermediation, service aggregation, and service arbitrage. Now, what is the benefit of cloud computing? Now, the first and the most important benefit is economic. It be it is very economical for the businesses. So business agility is there, less maintenance cost, acquire economies of scale, less capital expense, huge storage facilities for organizations, environmentally friendly also, less total cost of ownership and less power consumption. So in place of using the physical server instead of the virtual server is the best option for saving a money. So if the organization wants to save some money, so instead of going to the real physical server, they can go for the virtual servers. So it will save some money, less maintenance cost. That means they don't have to maintain anything, because the maintenance part will be done by the service provider. It will be environmentally friendly also, less total cost of ownership. Then the benefits of operational benefits are like flexibility and efficiency, resiliency and redundancy, scale as needed. That means as we need we can scale it. Less operational problems will be there because there is no physical hardware for the organizations consumers. Then deploy application quickly, backup and disaster recovery is good, automatic updates are also available. For staffing, streamline processes, well uses of resources, less personal training, less IT staff, multiple users, utilize resources on cloud, evolution to new models of businesses, simultaneous sharing of resources also. And for security is a less investment in a security controls, efficient, effective and swift response to security breaches, standardized open interface to manage the security services, then effective patch management and implementation of security updates, better disaster recovery preparedness, ability to dynamically scale defenses, resources on demand, resources aggregation offer better manageability of security system, rigorous internal audit and risk assessment procedures. Overall, it is a good idea to use the benefits of cloud computing. Now first, virtualization, understanding the virtualization. Now virtualization is very simple, is an ability to run multiple operating system on a single physical system and share the underlying resources such as server, a storage device or network. So physical machine will be like this, where we have the physical resources, CPU, memory, network, hard disk, data. On that we install the operating system, and on the operating system we install different applications. This is the physical structure. Now in a virtual environment or virtual machine, it will be like the physical resources will be there, which is managed by the virtualized environment, virtualized platform. For example, we say VMware virtualization layer, or we can say it hypervisor. So instead we can use any hypervisor. It is provided by different vendors like VMware. We have Zen, we have Hyper-V. Also we have Linux KVM, kernel virtualization hypervisor. So it will be different virtualization hypervisors. So we have hypervisor there as a virtualization layer, and on that hypervisor we create virtual hardware. Virtual hardware is an abstracted layer of the physical hardware. We can divide the physical hardware into multiple virtual hardware, and on that virtual hardware we install operating system, and then on the operating system we install the application. Now benefits of virtualization in cloud. So first, increases the business continuity through efficient disaster recovery, then reduces the cost of setting cloud infrastructure, that means cost on hardware, servers, etc. Then improves the way organization manage IT and delivery services, improves the operational efficiency, reduce system administration work, facilitates the better backup and data protection, increases service levels and enables self-service provisioning also. Help administrator to ensure control and compliance. Now, cloud computing threats. Now, cloud computing threats. First, data breaches and loss of data. Then, abuse of cloud services, insecure interface and APIs, insufficient due diligence, shared technology issues, unknown risk profile, inadequate infrastructure design and planning, conflict between client hardening procedures and cloud environment, loss of operational and security logs, malicious insiders, illegal access to cloud system, privilege escalation, loss of business reputation due to co-tenant activities, natural disasters, hardware failure, supply chain failure, modifying network traffic, isolation failure, cloud providers acquisitions, management interface compromise, network management failure, authentication attack, virtual machine level attack, lock-in, licensing risk, loss of governance, loss of encryption keys, risk from changes of jurisdictions, undertaking malicious probes or scans, theft of computer equipment, cloud service termination or failure, subpoena and e-discovery, improper data handling and disposal, loss of control, modification of backup data, compliance risk, economic denial of sustainability. Now these are the different type of threats we have for the cloud computing. Then it also have like this. So what is the data breach and loss? Now data breach or data loss issues, it is including data is erased, modified or decoupled, that is lost. So if suppose the data is lost or modified, it can be a problem. Encryption key are lost, misplaced or stolen. Encryption keys that is used to secure the data, encrypt the data, if that key is misplaced or stolen, it can be a problem. Illegal access to the data in a cloud due to improper authentication, authorization and access control. Misuse of data by CSP, cloud service provider. So because our data is stored on the service provider, so if suppose they are misusing it, so that can also be the problem. Abuse of cloud services. Now attacker create anonymous access to cloud services and perpetrate various attacks such as password and key cracking, building rainbow tables, capture solving farms, and launching dynamic attacks point, hosting exploit on cloud platform, then hosting malicious data, botnet command or control, and denial of service, distributed denial of service. Then insecure interface and APIs. Now insecure interface and APIs related risks are like circumvents user defined policies, is not credential leak proof, then breach in logging and monitoring facilities, unknown API dependencies, reusable passwords or token, insufficient input data validation. Insufficient due diligence, that means ignorance of cloud service providers cloud environment pose risk in operational responsibility such as security encryption, incident response and more issues such as contractual issues, design and architectural issues. Then shared technology issues like most underlying components that makes up the cloud infrastructure, that is GPU, CPU, cache, does not offer storing isolation properties in a multi-tenant environment, which enables attacker to attack other machines if they are able to exploit vulnerabilities on one client application. Unknown risk profile. In this, client organizations are unable to get a clear picture of internal security procedures, so security compliance, so configuration, hardening, patching, auditing and logging, etc., as they are less involved with the hardware and software ownership and maintenance in the cloud. Then inadequate infrastructure design and planning. Sometime what shortage of computing resources and or poor network design gives risk to unacceptable network latency or inability to meet agreed service level. Conflicts between client hardening procedure and cloud environment. Certain clients hardening procedures may conflict with the cloud provider's environment, making their implementation by the client impossible. Loss of operational and security logs. The loss of security logs poses a risk of managing the implementation of the information security management program, and loss of security logs may occur in case of under provisioning of storage. Then malicious insiders. If the disgruntled user is there, so disgruntled current or former employees, contractors or other business partners who have authorized access to cloud resources can misuse their access to compromise the information available in the cloud also. Illegal access to the cloud, that means weak authentication and authorization control could lead to a illegal access, thereby compromising the confidential and critical data stored in the cloud. Loss of business reputation due to co-tenant activities, that means resources are shared in the cloud, thus malicious activity of one co-tenant might affect the reputation of the other, resulting in poor service delivery or data loss, etc. That bring down organizations' reputations. Then privilege escalation, that means a mistake in an access allocation system causes a customer or third party or employee to get more access rights than needed. And natural disaster. Natural disaster, that means it based on the geographical location and climate. Data center may be exposed to natural disasters such as floods, lightnings, earthquakes, and that can affect the cloud services. And hardware failure. Altogether, everything is configured on the hardware. So finally, if the hardware fails, so hardware failure such as what switches servers in data centers can make the cloud inaccessible. Supply chain failure. So in cloud providers outsource certain tasks to third parties, and thus the security of the cloud is directly proportional to security of each link and the extent of dependency on third parties. So a disruption in the chain may lead to loss of data privacy and integrity, service availability, violation of service license agreement, economic and reputational losses, resulting in failure to meet customer demand and cascading failure. Modifying network traffic. In cloud, the network traffic may be modified due to flaws while provisioning or deprovisioning network, or vulnerabilities in communication encryption. Modification of network traffic may cause loss, alteration, or theft of confidential data and communication. Then isolation failure. Due to the isolation failure, attacker try to control operations of other cloud customers to gain illegal access to the cloud. Then cloud provider accusation. Accusation of the cloud provider may increase the probability of tactical shifts and may affect non-binding agreements at risk. This could make it difficult to cope up with the security requirements. Management interface compromise. Customer management interface of cloud provider are accessible via internet and facilitates access to large number of resources. This enhances the risk, particularly when combined with remote access and web browser vulnerability. Network management failure. Here poor network management lead to network congestion, misconnection, misconfiguration, lack of resources isolation, which affects services and security. Authentication attacks. Here weak authentication mechanism like weak password or reuse passwords and inherent limitation of one-factor authentication mechanism allows attacker to gain unauthorized access to cloud computing system. Weak level attack, VM level attack. Here cloud extensively extensively use virtualization technology. So this threat arises due to the existence of vulnerabilities in the hypervisor. So if the hypervisor is vulnerable, then it can attack virtualization technology. Then lock-in, inability of the client to migrate from one cloud service provider to another or in-house system due to the lack of tools, procedures or standard data formats for data application and service probability. Then the organization, this licensing risk here, the organization may incur huge licensing fee if the software deployed in the cloud is charged or on a per instance basis. Loss of governance in using cloud infrastructures, customer gives up control to the cloud service provider regarding issues that may affect security. Loss of encryption key, the loss of encryption key required for secure communication or system access provide a potential attacker with the possibility of get unauthorized access. Risk from changes of jurisdiction. Changes in jurisdiction of the data lead to risk. The data of or information system is blocked or impounded by government or other organization. Undertaking malicious probes or scans. Here malicious probes or scanning allows an attacker to collect sensitive information that may lead to loss of confidentiality, integrity and availability of service and data. Theft of computer equipment. Now, theft of equipment may occur due to poor control of physical parameters such as smart card access to the entry, security guards, which may lead to loss of physical equipment and sensitive data. Cloud service termination or failure. Termination of cloud services due to non-profitability or disputes might lead to data loss unless end user is legally protected. Sub-Piona and e-discovery. Now, customer data and services are sub-pioned or subjected to a case and seize and desist request from authorized authorities or third parties also. Then improper data handling and disposal. It is difficult to ascertain data handling and disposal procedure followed by service provider due to limited access to cloud infrastructure. Now, loss modification of data backup. Attacker might exploit the vulnerabilities such as SQL injection, insecure user behavior like storing password, reusing password to gain illegal access to the data backups in the cloud. Compliance risk. Organizations that seek to obtain compliance to standards and laws may be put at risk if the service provider cannot provide evidence of their own compliance with the necessary requirements, outsource cloud management to third parties and or does not permit audit by the client. Economic denial of sustainability. Now, if an attacker engages the cloud with a malicious service or executes malicious codes that consumes a lot of computational power and shortage of the cloud server, then the legitimate account holder is charged for this kind of computations until the main cause of CPU usage is detected. Now, on cloud computing attacks. What are the different attacks we have on cloud computing? First, service hijacking using social engineering attack. Then we have session hijacking using cross-site scripting attack, domain name system DNS attack, SQL injection attack, wrapping attack, service hijacking using network sniffing, session hijacking using session riding, side channel attack or cross guest VM breaches, cryptanalysis attack, DOS or DDoS attacks. First, service hijacking using social engineering attack. Now here, social engineering is a non-technical kind of intrusion that relies heavily on human interaction and often involves tricking other people to break normal security procedures. Now, attacker might target the cloud service provider to reset the password or IT staff accessing the cloud services to reveal passwords. Other ways to obtain the passwords clouds a password include password guessing, using keylogging malware, implementing password cracking techniques, or sending the phishing mail. Social engineering attack result in exposing customer data, credit card data, personal information, business plans, staff data, identity theft also. In this, attacker do what? Attacker uses the social engineering technique to do the attack. For example, here in the design, in the image you can see the attacker is doing what? First it is creating a fake cloud service logging page. It is creating a fake cloud service logging page and then sending this malicious link to the user. Now user clicks on the link and enters the login credentials. Now it is a fake of the real site. Now user thinks that this is the real page and it tries to log in into it, and it will provide the username and password for that. Now what happened? The fake cloud service login here, the login credentials are passed to the attacker. Then the real user will be redirected to the original cloud service login page. So it will be redirected to the original page and the information will be sent to the attacker. Now attacker use the user's credential to log in to the cloud services, and the attacker logs into the cloud service then. So attacker do what? Uses the login information of this user victim, and then it will log into the cloud, and then it will use a cloud of this user and do different things. Then service hijacking using network sniffing. Now network sniffing involves intercepting and monitoring of network traffic which is being sent between the two cloud nodes. So it is done by the sniffing. Simple sniffing means to sniff the data which is going from one server to other user or user to server. So attacker uses packet sniffers to capture the sensitive data such as password, session cookies and other web service related security configuration, such as the UDDI, that is Universal Description Discovery and Integrity, SOAP, that means Simple Object Access Protocol, and also WSDL, that is Web Service Description Language. So it captures these files and then it will reuse that file. What it do here, this is the normal user which is sending the data to the cloud. So the attacker will sniff the login credentials, password, session cookies and all. So it can do the login attack or it can do the session hijacking attack. Then session hijacking using cross-site scripting attack. So attacker implements the cross-site script to steal cookies that are used to authenticate user, and this involves the injecting a malicious code into the website that is subsequently executed by the browser. So first the attacker will infect the some legitimate site with the cross-site scripting code to get the cookie of the user. So it will send the link to the user, and first it will do what? It will host the page with the malicious script. Then what? It view the page hosted by the attacker. So user views the page, user's browser views the page hosted by the attacker here in the cloud. Now HTML containing the malicious script will go to the user browser. Now when the user runs it, so it will do what? It will collect the user cookies here and redirect the to attacker servers. Now send the request with the user cookie. The attacker will send the request to the user cookie to the direct server, the authenticated server, or we can say the legitimate server. And what happened? It will be hijacked, the session hijack. Then session hijacking using the session riding. Now in this, attacker exploit the website by implementing cross-site request forgery to transmit unauthorized commands. In session riding, attacker rides an active computer session by sending an email or tricking the user to visit a malicious web page while they are logged into the target site. When the user clicks the malicious link, the website executes the request as the user is already authenticated. So commands used include modify or delete user data, execute online transaction, reset password also. So it do what? It simply do what? Uh, if you have seen it, like if you are logged into some site, let's say for example Facebook, you're logging into the Facebook. Now you want to watch the other user's profile. So what we can do, we can do one more thing. We can click on that and we can open the profile directly on the same tab. Or what we can do, we can right click and we can open the tab, the link in the other tab also. Now we don't have to log in again because the cookie is already there, and it is what? It is using our cookie from the browser. So attacker what do? If the user is already logged into some particular site, so attacker try to send the malicious link, like user is logged into the trusted site and creates a new session. So session is already going on and user is still logging into one tab of the browser. The site store the session identifier for the session in the cookie in the web browser of the user. Now the attacker sends the link of the malicious code to the user who is already logged in and authenticated to the site, the legitimate site. Now when the user clicks and visit the malicious site or clicks the link, so what it do here, this sends a request from the user's browser using this session cookie. So it will do what? It will send the request, that malicious code, because it is designed by the attacker to do something, like for example it is to do for deleting the user data, modifying or deleting the user data, or it is executing online transaction command, or for resetting the password. So it depends on that what the attacker has designed the code. So it will send that code, malicious code, to the server, and because it is already logged in the user, so the code will be executed by the existing session cookie. So this is what the session hijacking using the session writing. Then domain name system, DNS attack. Now here attacker performs the DNS attack to obtain the authentication credential from the internet user. Now types of DNS attacks are DNS poisoning, where it involves diverting user to spoofed website by poisoning the DNS server or the DNS cache on the user system. So on the user system, it can poison the cache of the user's DNS records, and then what? It will change the legitimate site IP with the malicious site IP. So when the user try to log into the legitimate site, because the cache of the DNS is changed or poisoned, so it will redirect to the fake site, and in that fake site it will log the credentials of that user. It will steal the credentials of the user and then it will reuse the credential of that user. Then cyber squatting here involves conducting phishing scam by registering a domain name that is similar to a cloud service provider. That means attacker can do what? It can register the same name, like it will be looking like, it will look like similar. Like for example the Amazon ECS. So in the Amazon, instead of O, it will give 0. So it is different, but it is still look the same, to fool or trick the user. Domain hijacking involves the stealing a cloud service provider's domain name. Then domain sniping involves registering a leased domain name, that is what we can say the fake or similar looking name. So what happened in this query for the DNS info, it will go to the DNS server of the user. Now the DNS server queries for the DNS info for the cloud service provider server. Now when it goes to this here, and it will store into the internal DNS server. Now the attacker do what? Attacker sends a response with IP of a fake website. So before the real reply comes, the attacker send the reply related to the fake website. It says that this is the fake website, this is the site for this name. This is the IP for this site. It will send the fake IP, fake website IP. Now the IP will be given to the victim, the user, and it will cached in the user DNS cache. Now when when the user try to log in with the site, it will be redirected to the fake website. Now fake website will use the credential, the log the credential of the user, and then it will redirect to the real site. Then side channel attack or cross guest VM breaches. In this, attacker compromise the cloud by placing a malicious virtual machine in close proximity to a target cloud server, and then launch side channel. And inside a channel attack, inside channel attack, attacker runs a virtual machine on the same physical host of the victim's virtual machine and takes advantage of shared physical resources, that is processor cache, or to steal the data, cryptographic key from the victim. Now side channel attack can be implemented by any co-resident user and are mainly due to the vulnerabilities in shared technology resources. Now remember, when we are hosting the virtual machine in the single physical server, so they use some shared resources like CPU and RAM are shared among all the other virtual machines. So attacker do what? It will create the virtual machine inside the same cloud. So this is the user and it is having the multi-tenant cloud here, and this is the victim's machine. Now attacker will create its own virtual machine beside the same victim's virtual machine. And then what it will do? Attacker impersonate victim using the stolen credential. So it will steal the credential by creating the virtual machine just beside or on the same host of that victim's virtual machine. Then it will try to steal the information from the CPU cache, like CPU cache. For example, the cache is shared among the all the virtual machines. Cryptographic key, plain text secrets, it can capture all these. It can do timing attack, data renumber attack, acoustic cryptolysis attack. It can do power monitoring attack. It can do the differential fault analysis also. Now what is the countermeasure for side channel attack? So implement the virtual firewall in the cloud server backend of the cloud computing. This prevents attacker from placing malicious VM. Then implement random encryption and decryption. So encrypt the data using DES 3-DES AES algorithm. Then lock down operating system, images and application instances in order to prevent compromising vectors that might provide access. Check for repeated access attempts to local memory and access from the system to any hypervisor process or shared hardware cache by tuning and collecting local processes, monitoring data and logs for cloud system. Code the application and OS component in a way that they access shared resources like memory cache in a consistent, predictable way. This prevents attacker from collecting sensitive information such as timing, statistic, and other behavioral attributes. Then SQL injection. Now SQL injection attacker targets the SQL server running vulnerable database applications. It occurs generally when application uses input to construct dynamic SQL statements. And in this attack, attacker insert a malicious code generated using specific characters into a standard SQL code to gain unauthorized access to database. Further, attacker can manipulate the database content, retrieve sensitive data, remotely execute system commands, or even take control of the web server for other criminal activities. So in this SQL injection, try to inject the SQL codes into the cloud database application and try to use the vulnerability of the application and try to get the information from the cloud database services. Cryptanalysis attack. In this, insecure or absolute encryption makes cloud services susceptible to cryptanalysis. Now data present in the cloud may be encrypted or to prevent it from being read if accessed by malicious user. However, critical flaws in cryptographic algorithm implementation, example weak random number generation, might turn strong encryption to weak or broken. Also, there exists novel methods to break the cryptography. Partial information can also be obtained from encrypted data by monitoring client's query access pattern and analyzing the accessed position. So normally data is encrypted, credentials are encrypted, but the attacker can do what? It can sniff the traffic and performs a cryptanalysis on the data, encrypted data, try to get the plain text information extracted by the attacker, and then it can use that information, so access to encrypted information. So cryptanalysis attack countermeasures. What are the countermeasures? First, uses the random number generate cryptographically strong random numbers to provide robustness to cryptographic material like secure shell, keys and domain name system security extensions, DNSSEC. Then number two, do not use faulty cryptographic algorithms. Then wrapping attack. Wrapping attack is performed during the translation of SOAP message in the TLS layer, where attackers duplicate the body of the message and send it to the server as a legitimate user. So what attacker do here? First, the user sends the request to the web server here on the cloud. Now cloud service provide the service through the web services. So it is accessing the cloud services through the web server, so it is sending the request to web server. Now the web server sends an SOAP message with the header, in the header and the body. Now attacker intercepts the SOAP message here, and then what it do? It duplicates the original document, add the copy to the header and modify the original document. So it will use the header plus the body with the malicious body. So sends the modified SOAP message back to the server. Then denial of service or distributed denial of service attack. Now here in this, performing DOS attack on cloud service providers may leave tenant without access to their accounts, and cloud service provider is not able to provide the services, and it goes into denial of service. So denial of service can be performed by flooding the server with multiple requests to consume all the system resources available, passing malicious input to the server that crashes an application process, and entering wrong passwords continuously so that user account will be locked. Now if a DOS attack is performed by using the botnet, a network of compromised machines, then it is referred to as distributed denial of service attack. So if we try to use a denial of service attack, so sometimes it is not possible, because from single machine we can't take down the server. So we use the botnets and to what? Distributed denial of service attack, to take down the services of the server from the cloud server, so that the legitimate user is not able to access the services. Cloud security control layers. Now what is the cloud security control layers? This is for securing the cloud. Now this is the layer. First, the physical layer. Physical layer plans the security, CCTV and guard. So first we have to secure the physical layer. Then computer and storage. Host based firewalls we have to set, like host IDS, intrusion detection system, or host based IPS, intrusion prevention system, integrity and file log management, encryption and masking must be there to protect the computer and storage. Then trusted computing. Hardware and software, ROTs and APIs must be trusted. For network, We install the network IDS, network IPS, firewalls, DPI, anti-DDoS, cloud quality of service, configure DNS security, DNSSEC, then also authentication, OAuth. Then for the third layer, the management layer. In the management layer, GRC, IAM, VAVM, patch management, configuration management, and monitoring. In the information layer, DLP, CMF, database activity, monitoring, and encryption. In the application layer, SDLC, binary analysis, scanners, web app firewalls, and transaction securities. So this is what the cloud security, and it is the responsibility of both cloud service provider and consumer. So it is actually the responsibility of both the parties, the party who is providing the services and all the party who is consuming the services and who is the consumer. Now cloud consumer, they have workload instances on VM, API, applications and information within VM boundaries, and they have to do all these things. All these things like PKI, they can use the security controls as public key infrastructure, SDL, security development life cycle, web application firewall, real traffic gobblers, identifying access management. They should use the encryption, data loss prevention, IPS, secure web gateway. Then for the cloud service provider, they have to manage the API, cloud software and infrastructure, and they have to manage the cloud stack, that is open source, open core or proprietary like VMware, or open source like Linux KVM or Zen. Then and the also service provider have to manage the cloud computer infrastructure, that is compute, network, storage, commodity or engineered. So the hardware also have to manage with these all things, like the AppSec, the VAVM means virtual application and virtual machine. Then app security means application security, AV means antivirus, VPN means virtual private network, LB means load balancer, GRC means governance, risk and compliance, config control, that is configuration control, COS and QoS, that is class of service and quality of service, to prevent the distributed denial of service attack, TPM, trusted platform module, and NetFlow is for the network protocol by Cisco. So all these things are used to do the protection for the cloud services, and it is a job for both cloud service provider and consumer. So consumer has to monitor all these things or has to configure these things to provide security, manage security, and the service provider has to manage all these and things, all these, or configure all these things to provide the security or manage the security. Now cloud computing security consideration. So cloud computing services should be tailor-made by the vendor as per the given security requirements of the clients. So whatever the client says and what is they required, so for them it should tailor the security, tailor the services. Then cloud service providers should provide higher multi-tenancy, which enables optimum utilization of the cloud resources and to secure data and applications. Cloud services should implement disaster recovery plan for the stored data, which enables information retrieval in unexpected situations. Continuous monitoring on the quality of service is required to maintain the service level agreement between consumer and the service provider. Data stored in the cloud services should be implemented securely to ensure data integrity. Cloud computing services should be fast, reliable, and need to provide quick response time to the new requests. Symmetric and asymmetric cryptographic algorithms must be implemented for optimum data security in cloud computing. Organizational process of the cloud-based service should be engineered, operated, and integrated securely to the organization security management. Load balancing should be incorporated in the cloud services to facilitate network and resources to improve the response time of the job with the maximum throughput. Now the placement of security controls in the cloud. So where should we put the security controls there? Now here we have, in this image you can see, here are the virtualized server here. In the virtualized servers we have the hardware, then we have the operating system, and then we have the applications there. Then this is a virtual server where we have the network equipment, storage, and the farm for the virtual infrastructure cluster, where we have different virtualizations, different servers working as a cluster to provide the virtual machine services. So this is the total, in total this is the virtual server. Then this is what we have, the security control here, where we have the load balancer, we have Wi-Fi protected access, we have firewall, we have unified threat management system, we have routers, and these are the internet, and through the internet these users or organizations are accessing it. So the service provider has to manage all these things like load balancer, Wi-Fi protected access, firewall, unified threat management system, and routers to manage it from this side. And the consumer side, the organization which is using the cloud services, they also need to have a IDS, IPS, then they need to have a firewall and also antiviruses in their system, so that when they access it, they can access it securely, the cloud services. Now this is the best practices for securing cloud. Enforce data protection, backup, and retention mechanism. Then implement strong authentication, authorization, and auditing mechanism. Enforce SLAs for patching and vulnerability remediations. Check for data protection in both design and runtime. Vendors should regularly undergo ISEPA SAS 70 Type 2 audit. This is the type of audit. Then implement strong key generation, storage and management, and distraction party practices. Verify one's own cloud in public domain blacklist. So verify your own cloud. Suppose you are having a cloud, so you should verify your own cloud. Is it not in the blacklist of the public domain? Because suppose any attacker is using your cloud to create a malicious virtual machine. Attacker can use your cloud to create a malicious virtual machine which does the different attack on different organizations. Now when you do that, those organizations, if they detect the IP address, they detect the domain, they do what? They put it into the blacklist. Blacklist that will be distributed to all the IDS and IPS, and they will block you. So whenever you try to access anyone, it will be blocked. So if your name, domain name or IP address under the blacklist, so you should verify your own cloud under the domain blacklist, public domain blacklist. Monitor the client traffic for any malicious activities. Then enforce the legal contracts in employees. Behavior policy, that means if the employees are there, they should behave properly. Prevent unauthorized server access using security checkpoints. Then prohibit user credentials sharing among users, applications and services, and disclose application logs and data to customers. Then analyze the cloud provides security policies and service license agreement. Leverage strong two-factor authentication technique where possible. Access security of cloud APIs and also log customer network traffic. Baseline security breach notification process. Ensure that a cloud undergoes regular security checkups and updates. Analyze API dependencies, change software modules. Ensure that physical security is a 24/7 365 affair. Enforce strengthened registration and validation process. Enforce security standards in installation configuration. perform vulnerability and configuration risk assessment, ensure that the memory storage and network access is isolated, and disclose infrastructure information, security patching and firewall details. Then enforce the strengthened cloud security compliance SCM, that is software configuration management and management practices, transparency, employs security devices such as IDS, IPS, firewall, etc. to guard and stop unauthorized access to the data stored in the cloud. Enforce the stringent security policies and procedures like access control policy, information security management policy, and contract policy. Ensure infrastructure security through proper management and monitoring. Availability, secure VM separation and service assurance. Use VPNs to secure the client's data and ensure that data is completely deleted from the main servers along with its replicas when requested for data disposal. Ensure secure socket layer SSL. It should be used for the sensitive and confidential data transmissions. Analyze the security module of cloud provider interface. Understand terms and condition in service license agreement like minimum level of uptime and penalties in case of failure, and adhere to the agreed level. Enforce basic information security practices, namely strong password policy, physical security, device security, encryption, data security, and security, etc. Network security. Now, NIST recommendation for cloud security. This is the recommendation from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. First, assess risk posed to clients' data, software and infrastructure. Then select the appropriate deployment model according to needs. Then ensure audit procedures are in place for data protection and software isolation. Renew your service license agreements in case security gaps found between organizations' security requirements and cloud providers' standards. Establish the appropriate incident detection and reporting mechanism. Analyze that are the security objectives of organizations. Inquire about who is responsible of data privacy and security issues in cloud. Then organization or provider cloud security compliance checklist. So if you are an organization or the provider, so you have to maintain this checklist, like is everyone aware of his or her cloud security responsibilities. You have to, as an organization, you will check all these, then maintain here the checklist. And if you are the service provider, you will maintain here the checklist that yes, everyone knows about it. Then is there a mechanism for assessing the security of the cloud services? Check as a organization, check as a provider. Does the business governance mitigate the security risks that can result from cloud-based shadow IT? Does the organization knows within which jurisdiction its data can reside? Is there a mechanism for managing cloud-related risks? Does the organization understand the data architecture needed to operate the appropriate security at all levels? Can the organization be confident of end-to-end service continuity across several cloud service providers? Does the provider comply with all relevant industry standards, example the UK Data Protection Act or the other countries different act or cyber acts? Does the compliance functions understand the specific regulatory issues pertaining the organization's adoption of cloud services? And the checklist will be like this, and the checklist that check as a organization and check as a provider that these things are there, or you have checked these things or not. Then Core Cloud Inspect. Now this is a tool for the cloud security. For the cloud security we have this tool, it is called Cloud Inspect. Now it do what? It proactively verify the security of your Amazon web server deployment web services against real current attack techniques. Then safely pinpoint and validate critical OS and service vulnerabilities with no false positive. Then measures your susceptibility to SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and other web application attacks. Then get the actionable information necessary to remediate the security exposures. Then we have the Cloud Passage Halo. This is also is a cloud server security platform with all security functions. You need to safely deploy servers in public and hybrid clouds. Then we have these other tools for the cloud securities. So these are all cloud security tools which we can use to scan the vulnerabilities and to do the remediation task and to check our cloud's integrity and security measures. Now on this Ubuntu, I have configured what my own cloud for sharing files. It is called Own Cloud. I can log into this. Okay. Okay, so this is my cloud. And admin, I am logging as a admin. So this is my own cloud for sharing the files, and other user, I have one user also created, so that user can also use this cloud. This is a cloud, this is a file sharing cloud. Now I'll go to Windows 10 machine. This is my Windows 10 machine, and from here I can try to connect the cloud, my cloud. So I will go here on the browser and I will give the Ubuntu machine's IP address, that is 125. And it is showing the login page here. So this is the login page. I can log in as the user. Then you can see I have logged in here. I can check this shared directory. I have some image here, and now I can upload something from here also, or I have a desktop tool here which I can install here to use as use for this cloud services. So this is the own cloud client desktop application which I can install here to connect the cloud server. Installation is simple. We can just install it like next. What we want to do here, this is to choose like shortcut you want to create on the desktop. We say yes. This is the directory for the application. So this is installed. When you go next, it says run a cloud. So you say okay, yes, run. And now it is asking you to configure it. So you have to mention the address. So address is address for my cloud. Then you have to mention the username and password. So for example, I want to accept it as a different user. There is another user like this user. Okay, I think wrong password. Let me admin. Okay, now it is going to create this folder here. It is going to, okay, it is for update. Okay, I don't need. So it is going to create this folder under the administrators directory, where we can easily store the files, and it is going to sync with the cloud storage. So it is going to store whatever the files we store into this folder, it is going to store onto the cloud. And say okay, yes, connect. And it is now start showing the notification. It is saying that documents and other files are being uploaded. So it is start showing the notifications, activity, you have the sync protocol, not synced. This is the user which we have logged in. And in this side, you can see the icon here. You can right click and you can open the OneCloud in the browser, or you can open the folder directly. So this is a folder where you can save anything. When you store or save anything, like on this share folder, there is a one image. So if you store anything here, it is going to upload into the cloud. So for example, I will store some file here. I will keep this MP3 file ABC there. So I will copy from here and I will store into this share folder. Now it is going to be synced and it is going to be uploaded on the cloud. Now let's check on the cloud. So now we are under Ubuntu Cloud, and what we see here, this was the folder. So when I click on this folder, so I can see that MP3 file here also. So it is actually uploaded from that Windows 10 machine. So whatever we store in this folder, it is going to upload on the cloud. Now attacker can do what? They can store the malicious files into the cloud also. Attackers can store the malicious files on the cloud. They can store the exe file, upload the malicious exe files like the Trojan files or Trojan spywares. They can add those things on the cloud. Like for example, this is an exe file here. I will try to copy this on the cloud folder. This is our cloud. No, this is not our cloud folder. Not this one. This one is the cloud folder. I will try to paste it here. And it is allowing me to paste it. It is allowing me to copy this. It is uploading into cloud because it is what? You can also verify it from here. And we can see that exe file is there, MSI file. So I will delete it from here. And also I will delete it from here. So it can allow to upload. Now if you want to secure our cloud, this is own cloud I want to secure. So I have to configure some antivirus thing on this. so that no one can upload these malicious things, those exes, those .exe files, those executables should not be uploaded here. Now for my cloud, I can have installed different these tools like antivirus tools to stop this, because if it is if it can upload these malicious things, attacker can upload the malicious thing, then they can compromise the server, they can compromise the cloud server. Now for example, we'll create a file there from the Kali Linux. So from the Kali Linux, what I will do, I will create an exploit here and send the exploit to the Windows 10 machine. For that I will use MSF Venom tool. With the payload, I'm going to create a payload for Linux this time. So it is because the Ubuntu is Linux. And it is the payload for shell, reverse TCP, and then this is L host. So L host will be my Kali Linux IP, and then L port will be 4444, and the platform will be Linux, and the file type will be exe, and I will upload this under root desktop as a exploit.exe. Now this is created here. If you check on the desktop, we can see that exe file here. Now what I will do, I will share the file through my browser, through my web server here. So I will copy this file from the desktop, this exploit file, to my var www.html directory, and I will my web services are ready, it is running. I can check the status. Okay, it is not running, so I will start this. Okay, now I can access this Trojan exploit from the Windows 10 machine. Now attacker will do what? It will try social engineering technique to send this Trojan to the victim. So attacker will use different social engineering technique to send the Trojan to the victim and ask the victim to upload that thing, to that Trojan into the web server, into the database server, into the cloud. So I have sent it through directly the web browser, so it can be accessed like this. Under the app directory, and this is the exploit, so it can download here. So it is being downloaded here under the victim machine. So it is down in the victim machines. Now victim can do what? It can upload this into the browser, into the cloud, and when it is uploaded into the cloud, so it can be compromised if it is executed under the cloud. So what next? The victim will this victim will upload it into the cloud. Now victim is having this exploit here. What it will do here, if it is uploaded into the cloud, like what it will do, it will copy this and then open the cloud folder, paste under this. Now it can paste this malicious file. So it is pasted here, and now it is pasted here, that means it is uploaded into the cloud. We can verify this from the browser also. If I go to this share folder, I can see this malicious thing. Now when this is executed on the cloud server, then what happened? That cloud server can be compromised. So what happened now? On the cloud server, if the administrator goes to the share folder, they can see this file. Now what they can do, if it is download here, will save, and it is saved under the download folder. So if you check the download folder, of the user, that is you can see that exploit file is there. Now if it is executed here on this server, in the cloud server, then what happened? It will open the back door, and the attacker, which is sitting on the Kali Linux ready, it is waiting for the exploit to be executed. So what the attacker do? It will be waiting for the Kali Linux to it is waiting on the Kali Linux to exploit, for this exploit to execute. And for that, what the attacker do on Kali Linux? Here under this, it has used this MSF console, and it is start to read. It is start for listening on that payload. So it will configure the payload to listen, and whenever anyone executed that, so it will be it will open the access for this attacker. It will open the access for the attacker on this Kali Linux. It will use that exploit multi-handler, and it will set the payload for the Linux, shell reverse TCP, show options. So need the local host IP and port number, set L host, and that is the IP of the Kali itself. And the port number which it has set on the payload. So it has set the payload with the port number 4444. And now what it will do, it will run it, and it will wait for the exploit to execute on the cloud server. Now on the cloud server, the exploit is there, and it can be executed. Now for executing anything on the Linux system, so it need to have an execute permission. So giving the execute permission, and then what? It will execute this exploit here. Now when it executed, so when it is executed here on the cloud server, now what happened? When you go back to Kali Linux, you can see the session is established here. The session is open, and the session is from that cloud server. It is connected the session, and now we can access it from there. So we can see the session is open here. I can connect the session with the ID number 3, and it is opening the session for that, and whatever the command we give here, it will be executed on that server, and we can see the IP address of the cloud server. So it is actually the shell. So we have a shell for that server, Linux shell. So whatever the command we run here, it will be executed on that server, and it will give us the information about that server. Now we have a command shell, and who am I? So I am as a user who executed that, and I get the privilege of that user, and I can do whatever I want to do. So if the compromised file is uploaded on the cloud server, and if it is executed on the cloud server, so it can be compromised the cloud server. Now penetration testing for the cloud. Now what is a cloud penetration testing? Cloud penetration pen testing is a method of actively evaluating the security of a cloud system by simulating an attack from a malicious source. Then security posture of cloud should be monitored regularly to determine the presence of vulnerabilities and the risks they pose. Cloud security is based on the shared responsibility of both cloud provider and the client. Now types of a cloud as well as the type of cloud provider determines if pen testing is allowed or not. So if it is a SaaS, SaaS, that is software as a service, so pen testing is not allowed by provider, as it might impact their infrastructure. Then if it is a platform as a service or infrastructure as a service, then pen testing is allowed, but coordination is required with the both service provider and client. The contract and service license agreement made with the cloud provider states if pen testing is allowed. If so, what kinds of tests are allowed and how frequently can it be done. Key consideration for pen testing in the cloud is determine the type of cloud, like platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, or software as a service. Obtain written consent from performing pen testing. Ensure every aspects of the infrastructure, that is PaaS or SaaS, are included in the scope of testing and generated reports. Determine what kind of testing is permitted by cloud service provider and how often. Prepare legal and contractual documents. Perform both internal and external pen testing. Perform pen tests on the web app services in the cloud without web application, firewall or reverse proxy. Perform vulnerability scan on hosts available in the cloud. Determine how to coordinate with the cloud service providers for scheduling and performing the test. The scope of pen testing is the pen testing web application includes mobile applications also. Pen testing network or host includes systems, firewall, address databases available in cloud. Pen testing web services include mobile backend services. For doing the pen testing, first check for lock-in problems, then check for the government issue, check for the compliance issue, check for the cloud for resources isolation, then check if anti-malware apps are installed and updated on every device, check if firewall are installed at every network entry point, check if SSO authentication is deployed for every remote user, check if files transfers to or from cloud servers is encrypted. Then check if files stored on cloud server are encrypted or not. Check data retention policy of service providers. Check if all users follow safe internet practices. Perform detailed vulnerability assessment. Then check audit and evidence gathering features in cloud services. Then perform automated cloud security testing, and finally document all the findings. Now, recommendation for the cloud testings are like: find out whether the cloud provider will accommodate your own security policies or not. Then prepare the provider security precautions to the present levels of security to ensure the provider is achieving better security levels for the user. Ensure that the cloud computing partners suggest risk assessment techniques and information and how to reduce the uncovered security risk. Make sure that a cloud service provider is capable of providing their policies and procedures for any security agreement that an agency faces. Pay attention to the service providers agreement so that the coding policies can be secured. Authenticate users with the username and password. Ensure that all the credentials such as the accounts and passwords assigned to the cloud provider should be changed regularly by the organization. Strong password policy must be advised and employed by the cloud pen testing agencies. Then we ensure that the existing business IT security protocols are up to date and flexible enough to handle the risk involved in the cloud computing. Make sure that you can offer IT support and use more strength layer of security to prevent potential data breaches. Make sure that the access to virtual environment management interfaces is highly restricted. Password encryption is advisable. Protect the information which is uncovered during the penetration testing. Pay special attention to cloud hypervisor, the servers that run multiple operating systems. Use a centralized authentication or single sign on for the firm that uses the SaaS application. Make sure that the workers are provided with the best training possible to comply with these security parameters. So this is what the cloud computing platform we have. We have different kind of platform services. We have like SaaS, PaaS and SaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So we have seen how much threats we have for these cloud computing, what are the threats and what are the different type of attacks can be possible. Like we have seen that if the malicious files can be allowed to upload on the cloud stores, so it can do what? It can harm the cloud servers, it can harm the cloud server and open the back door for the attackers. For securing that, the cloud service provider must install the antiviruses and protection tools in their clouds. So this is the cloud computing we have.